11 characters. What is it not liking? I don't think it likes the exclamation mark. Wow.
If you took off
We can change it to what, if we need to change the password, that's fine.
I can't figure out what it's not doing.
We'll just change it to school board if that works for you. Does that sound okay?
All right, without the
Exclamation? Yep.
All right,
Let him change
that works.
first there.
Yeah, I'll change it on mine then.
Word quiz, what's the total amount on the bottom of page 22?
Don't give away my whole presentation.
Sure Mitch knows, top of his head.
Actually, I think it's earlier than 22 this year.
No, I'm just,
It's 18, page 18. Normally it is 20, 21, maybe somewhere in there.
You're a strange man, Brooks.
We put
But
it
we
on-
sure enjoy
That was
you.
said with affection.
Yeah. Well, we put it on the website. Can I see like how many times it actually gets clicked on? Because my friend of them are me, but there's a lot.
I can get all the stats, how many
Yeah.
people watched it, and for how long they watched it for, and all that.
Yeah, I'll just go through the highlights.
your highlights are ours.
Yeah.
You gotta trim down to 25 minutes.
He's gonna give us the 3-hour abridged version tonight.
Gee, and since Lori was gone, I got to go through this with Black, so, which I approved for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was interesting to read.
Tell him the issue right now.
Actually, on a 10-hour flight, I actually did 3
Get
miles.
down to what it's about.
Oh, okay.
Since we got about 3-4 minutes.
And that's just.
So you got close? Keith?
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, we got close, and he thinks this will work now that when the guys can enable the firewall.
Okay.
So, he's optimistic.
So are we.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
I was waiting for you out.
We'll get it open.
That's the guy who will be here this
Steve's
morning.
pretty sure it should work pretty good.
Do you have it connected once you're on that board?
You're hoping for a good.
Oh, you can't do an enterprise.
Oh.
So it's snowing that lake.
Yeah. Busy this weekend. Snow reels, ATV, and stuff.
And the ice seems good.
High school stuff.
Yeah, there's some big shacks out in Madison now, so it must be. It was hard to trust them to watch it freeze. Oh, yeah, freeze.
Well, and it's gotta be tough to get her out. You know, you gotta have either a snowmobile or track, something like that.
Yeah, there's some big trucks.
You do it. How many times? Oh, yeah.
I get confused because of all the different books you read about legally, like how long.
That's the biggest one thing you really get the most.
Yeah, it is. It's
It's scary, though, but-
One is supposed to stay through the whole tour.
One explorer.
And usually the one that they qualify. It's okay. Yeah, math.
Or if that's the coach, that's always fun, and like the other person. It's
Right.
like,
Last time, I got one more.
Stacey Thompson. And Trip, I usually bring out maybe the only class that they would put in the general classroom if they're really far down would be my class. But usually,
Then it can, yeah, the same person,
yeah,
which is fair.
but you're like, oh, that's just.
And that's pretty, according to classroom, that's replaced junior starting.
All right, it is 5:30. Time to call to order the regular school board meeting of the Madison Central School District. It's Monday, February 10th. Mr. Brooks will record the members present or absent, and we do have a quorum tonight. So next, let's all rise and pledge allegiance to the flag, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we'll talk about the agenda, and I believe the change in the agenda will include only personnel items.
Personnel, yep.
So we'll wait and just address those when we get to them as a part of the consent agenda. With that, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Miller has the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hanamichael. Any questions or discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare the agenda is approved. Next is our consent items. The minutes of the January 13th meeting is item number 7. Item number 8 is approval of the bills, and Mrs. Schultz and I went through those, and everything looked good. Our financials are there, and another wonderful month for health insurance. And that takes us down to number 9, personnel actions.
Yes, we have some additions to the personnel actions. We have 2 resignations. First one is Mr. Steve Millage as Technology Director, effective February 28th, 2020. The second resignation would be Larry French as Special Education Bus Driver, effective February 20th, 2020. And then there are 3 additions on the request to hire. Tara Lessinger as High School Special Education Teacher at $43,200, and that would be to replace Laura Millen. John Forster as Technology Director to replace Steve Millage, effective February 24th, 2020. That would be for the last 4 months and 1 week of this year's contract. Start February 24th through June 30th, and that would be for $20,002. The one more addition from the request to hire is Stacy Thompson as Speech Language Pathologist at $49,300, and that would be to replace Julia Schlesser. And then our other ones that were listed would be Adriana Haverland as Weekend Custodian at $13.30 per hour to replace June Ruskell, who moved to the elementary custodial position, replacing Richard Caldwell when he retired. And then we have 3 playground supervisors, Sarah Torres, Cooper McDermott, and Abby Strasser as playground supervisors at $9.40 per hour.
The administration has been busy. Any, or a motion to approve the consent agenda, then we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Mrs. Schultz, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bundy. Any further questions or discussion on the consent agenda items 7 through 9? Hearing none, then all in favor of approval of the consent agenda items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare the consent items are approved. Anyone wish to address the board? Then we'll go on to administrative reports. Mr. Jorgensen.
Well, I want to start by thanking Mr. Millage for everything he's done for us, and wish him the best of luck. I'm not bitter, but the issue is getting an excellent person. So,
Thank you.
wish you the best. And again, thanks for everything you've done, and good luck.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
And I'm looking forward to John stepping in and picking up right where Steve left off. So they've worked well together, so I know that John has a great understanding of our system and is ready to go. So welcome aboard in that position, John. Upcoming schedule, no school on February 14th and 17th, President's Day weekend. Also, the 14th and 15th, we have the state gymnastics meet going on up at Aberdeen Central, at Aberdeen Central High School. Tonight for the policy review, the committee will bring forward 13 policies in Section G that were reviewed with no recommended changes. And also the committee will bring forward 4 policies in Section G for first reading. Last item I'll touch on would be District 8. I was in Pierre last week, had the opportunity to visit with our District 8 legislators, discussed a number of education bills. I looked today and I believe there's, between the House and Senate side currently that we're monitoring, there's about 56 bills right now that we're keeping an eye on. A lot of them haven't even been scheduled for hearing yet. So as we get into the session a little bit farther, we'll be looking for communication as far as if we have certain bills coming up that we need to be very active on. In visiting with both our legislators and other legislators out there and our lobbyists and other folks in Pierre, I remain semi-optimistic that we can get to that 2%. It'll be an uphill battle, but I think there's a bit of a will out there maybe now to get some of that done, so I sure hope that we can get to the CPI. The schools have held up their end of the bargain. We need the legislators who were part of this whole deal to hold up their end now. So again, once we get into it a little farther, we'll have a number of bills we'll be tracking. Right now, there's a lot of bills out there that will hopefully die a quick death, and we'll move on to the next ones, but we got to get through those first.
Mr. Brooks, you have anything? I've got a couple of things. There was one thing that Mr. Jorgensen did not mention that he was in Pierre for.
Yes.
And that was that he was recognized legislatively as being the superintendent of the year, and an honor very well deserved, and we're very proud that he is a Bulldog on that. So we had legislative Cracker Barrel, and again, that was interesting. Rob and I were there, and there were lots and lots of issues, very little really time spent on the education issues on that. There is one bill on the horizon that really concerns me, and that's HB Bill 1177. That is being introduced, and it's going to change the way that we as school boards are elected and our terms of office, if that goes into effect. They're trying to, from what I've heard, the goal is to increase voter participation. But what that would mean is we'd go on a 2-year election cycle, and we'd have our elections in November and take office in the middle of the school year.
And not only that, the budget would change in the middle of the year as well. It would be a January time frame, so you'd be right in the middle of the year. There's a lot of things that don't add up with it, I guess, is the easiest way to put it, as far as the school setting
Yeah,
goes.
it just, and they're not doing this municipalities, they're moving just the school board portion of it. So that's one that we may want to keep a real eye on, and I may be asking you to contact our legislators and get others to contact. It just doesn't fit real well with the way we're currently doing business at the school board level. I had the opportunity to sit on the PLEC meeting, which was interesting. Lori, and I'm the alternate, and I guess the one thing we had as a takeaway out of that is the fact that Mr. Stolken, the director, had met with the special ed directors and the school psychologist and with the superintendents, and one of the things that's on the horizon that we're going to have to be looking at is issues of behavior. And of course, that's something we've talked about for a long period of time, but PLEC may be a partial solution. We'll just have to see how that goes. I also had the opportunity to be in Washington, D.C. Over last Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. An interesting time to be in the nation's capital with all that was going on. I think there's several things on the federal side that we're going to have to be watching for. Higher Education Act, which actually helps us with Title II dollars, and it also helps with teachers, and recruitment is up for reauthorization. Don't know whether it'll get there or not. The IDEA funding bill, we're still at 14% where the federal government initially put that bill in, and we were going to be at 40%, so think what difference that would make. And then we had the Assistant Executive Secretary from the Department of Education come in and talk about how they're going to continue to pursue vouchers. And that will be very, very interesting. The only one of our congressional delegation we actually had time with was Senator Thune. The others were busy. Dusty Johnson, Representative Johnson was still back in South Dakota, and Senator Rounds was busy preparing for his time on the Senate floor regarding the impeachment hearings. The only other thing is, if anybody's interested, we have ASBSD Legislative Day on Pier on next Tuesday. If anybody is interested, I will be out there for the board meeting, but it's kind of an interesting thing if you want to learn. And Tyler has been sending those out in the blogs and the alerts and things. Anybody else have anything? Well, it took a lot longer than I thought it should. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
On the House bill,
Yep.
who is supporting that, or where's that coming from?
Well, actually, our two local representatives are sponsors. The key sponsor is Post. On that, both of our representatives signed on as sponsors. Senator Youngberg did not sign on as a sponsor.
And reasoning is to increase voter turnout? as far
That
as you
is
know?
what they are using as the major reason. It has not yet been set for a committee hearing. I know it had significant discussion in Howard at the Cracker Barrel that they had there, where they were able actually to have interchange instead of just the questions being asked. And Lisa Stadnecker from Woonsocket sent me and said that she was at least able to express some of our concerns. She was with part of the group of us that was in DC, and we actually had the bill actually just was dropped, I believe, last Thursday or Friday.
Yeah,
So,
last day.
So it would be a solo election then, right? Just the school board?
no, we'd be with the national election.
Oh, with the national, gotcha.
Yep. We would be, and like Joel said, it has ramifications on budgeting and everything else that just,
Well, it would take for some districts, it would take a number of ballots because of the school districts that all may be in one area, and which one you would vote on, so.
in Lake County, it could cause some real issues because we've got 4 independent school districts
Oh, I see.
on that, and so that could be another interesting one. Other questions on that? All right, board members with I have one other one. We did get a thank you from the Madison Middle School. On behalf of the middle school teachers, we want to say thank you for providing our lunch during American Education Week. We're proud of our schools and the work we do and appreciate your support and encouragement. So we'll start that with Rob, and then we can bring it back the other way. So then we're on to number 12, certificates of appreciation.
I have a certificate here from ASBSD in recognition of dedicated leadership in public education and for improving achievement for all public school students. Associated School Boards of South Dakota honors the Madison Central School District. South Dakota School Board Recognition Week is February 17th through the 21st. President Denise Kuchmeyer.
You got it.
Heard 3 times, so appreciation. I present everyone with a certificate.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Here's the card, key for everything on it.
That's the,
No.
For your key.
thank you, sir. Love it.
Thank you, Joel.
Oh, thank you, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paula?
Yes, annually, we need to just look at our comprehensive plan for special education. It is written by the Plex schools, but each school has to individually okay it. And no changes from last year. It all depends every year what happens in peer. It's our guidelines for special education.
So there's no action, we just need to be informed at this point? Or do we need
No,
to
we
take?
take an action
Sign.
to approve it again for this year.
Okay.
And some years,
Okay.
if there were changes, then we'd bring the changes
Okay.
forward as it comes.
So then we need a motion to approve the comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Mr. Hanamichael, is there a second?
Second.
And Mrs. Schultz, questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the South Dakota Comprehensive Plan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Declare that that has been approved. Number 14, proposed school district calendar for makeup days.
Currently, we have 3, and we had it on our calendar that one of the options was also to take off April 13th. So with 3 days, we took off April 13th and actually went to school now, along with 21st and 22nd, barring no additional days. That would have us out then the Friday. So our recommendation would be that we go to school on April 13th. I wanted to bring it forward now so we gave people time to plan, they would know, and we'll change it on our calendar, we'll send a push notification. And also the 21st and 22nd would be the 3 current days we would use for makeup.
Okay, so recommendation from administration is that we use Easter Monday and then add May 21st and 22nd. Is there a motion, and then we can have discussion?
So moved.
Mrs. Schultz, is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Bundy. Further questions or discussion? The 3 come from 2 in the fall with the flood days,
Correct.
and then the one snow day, I guess we'll call it, that we had not too long ago, so. Very good, then no further discussion or questions. All in favor of amending the calendar to include Easter Monday and May 21st and 22nd, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Declare that that motion is passed. 15, Mr. Jorgensen.
We've been working on the calendar for 2021. It's very similar to the last few years. One change that, if we go down a little bit farther, Steve, one change would be that in the past, one of our early releases for in-service was the first Wednesday in April. With Easter falling where it does, we slid that then back up into March. Otherwise, we would be off Friday and Monday, come back Tuesday and have an early release Wednesday. So we slid that up. The one thing that's not on there yet, on January 18th, that'd be a corresponding date for the winter symposium with Hartford and the other schools we go to. We don't have a date yet on there for a conference locked in the fall. Once we do that, we'll get that added to the calendar. I'm working with Ms. Ricky, we just gotta get a date locked in yet. So, other than that, it's pretty well similar to the last few years that we've had for our calendar.
So at this point in time, we could move to approve this,
Correct.
and
we'll just-
then with the understanding that there will be a conference day
Yeah.
added in the fall.
And that conference day then will be a day of no school, it'll be a conference day. So we'll get that added here within the next couple of weeks once we lock the date in. We're trying to look at an earlier date to use that instead of the November date.
I have a question, do you want me to wait?
We can go ahead and do the question, I guess.
Okay. In August, does
On
one of the
site up, Steve.
registration days count as a student contact day?
Yeah, the open house day,
It does,
26,
that
26 does. yeah.
Okay.
the 19th.
Or 19th,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
open house day.
The open house day
Oh,
counts as
okay.
a contact day, yep, correct.
Okay. Other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the 2021 school start day and district calendar.
So moved.
Mr. Bundy has that. Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Miller. Any further questions or discussion? Seems to be a calendar that's working well for us and takes into account many of the things that we work with. Other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the school start date and the district calendar signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declared as passed. And Mr. Brooks has good news on number 16.
We got enough
We did get the
proposal,
info.
we did get enough information, we were able to go through that. The chiller, if you remember, went out to bid as an alternate 2 years ago, we didn't accept it at that time. Went out again the last spring, the system was still working, you know, beyond its life. And then comes back this spring and came in, we have, of the chiller system that's there, half of it's not working, the other half probably isn't far behind. So this would be a good time to replace before something happens. It's a 8 to 12 week lead time just to build the system. Then they have to bring in a crane and do some work. So if we accept this proposal, which we'll kind of go through a little bit, it would probably be a March, April, sometime in their install. If you go later than that, we fall into the work schedules, what's already set up. We don't know when the install would necessarily be. The proposal came in at $145,770. Howe was the low bid on that. GNR is the person who did or the group that did the design for us 2 years ago, and then we took it out for bid on our behalf. It will do the whole middle school area, the middle school gym area, kind of that north hallway, which is kind of by the middle school band area. I think what else, come all the way through science wings.
Yep.
And it's a 2-pipe system, so it runs either hot or cold. Can't go back and forth between both. So we put it in before we switch over to the cold in the spring. Any questions I had? We had small discussions on this in the past couple of years, but
Then it shouldn't cause any disruption with instruction, because most of that's gonna be occurring outside or back in their
yeah.
areas away from student
And the
contact.
plans have it done while the heating portion is still going.
We had our fingers crossed that it would keep functioning even with half of it down, so we've gotten probably a year more than we thought we'd get out of it.
So, with that, we'll entertain a motion to consider the upgrade to the chiller portion of the middle school cool HVAC system. Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
I'll say it.
Mr. Hanamichael. And we're pretty pleased with what it came in at also.
Yeah, it came in just slightly higher than what was budgeted, and I've used a budget number from 2 years ago, so it held pretty good over the last couple of years.
Very good. All in favor of approval of the chiller for the HVAC system in the middle school signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declare that that is approved. Item number 17 is our audit report.
I'll hit the highlights, all the exciting things.
Take your time.
So there's a lot in the report, we'll kind of go through the key areas. On page 11, on the top right, there's a table that talks about our debt, outstanding debt. So if you look in there, at the end of 2019, which this report goes up to the end of June of 2019, we had 11,164,885. So I think that's always this key thing to always know is what debt we still have out there and what's remaining on that. And it's more than just our debt, it's also like our lease payments and early retirement payments on that. And then on pages kind of 16, 17, and 18, those are every revenue and expenditure we have are broken down into functions that are set up by the State Department of Legislative Audit. So you can kind of see how the breakouts are. So you see every revenue we brought in, every expenditure we expended. You'll see them on those pages. On page 18, kind of towards the bottom there, you'll see where we finished in 2018 and where we finished in 2019. And I think that's a key thing to always know, what our fund balance is. Our revenues exceed our expenditures. And so just the quick pieces, the general fund balance is something that's always watched very close. Our fund balance for I got all my years written on here, for 2019, was at 2.256 million. That's a 28.3% fund balance. Last year, we were 31.6, so we're moving in the direction we wanted to. down about 3%. The cash balance, that's what the state holds us accountable for. Our cash balance at the end of that year was 21.8%. 25% is the cap. Last year we were at 23.1%, so we went down 1.3%. And in the direction we were looking to go. Then the only other fund that has limitations, that special education fund, we have to be under a certain 400,000 or 25%. Our fund balance for that was 23.6%, so we were under the special education cap on that. So that's kind of the highlights.
Maybe we're going to interject one thing there.
Yep, yep.
There's accountability standards we have to be aware of, but those don't necessarily always have to match with the ending of the fiscal year either.
Correct, yep. With the cash balance, it's the lowest, whatever month we have our lowest cash balance on, which is often in April for us, October, April. And then, a lot of these are just our GASRI reports that show different liability functions, not actual cash. But if we, that's kind of next number of pages, which you can look through. If you go over to page 62, which is almost the last page, on it, it'll show our findings. We had no findings in our federal programs. The only finding that they had, the same finding we have every year, is lack of segregation of duties for revenues. And what that is there's just the two of us who do most of the duties within the revenues. On it, they need probably 5 people in order to get rid of that finding. It's not real cost effective to have additional staff that don't have a lot of duties for that. We do have things that we do as far as we have the board look at and review, and with our reports, we post all of our cash balances and all of our bank reconciliations are posted for public, everything on our agenda each month. And as long as those are matching up, we know that all cash is being accounted for. So that's what we do to kind of help with that finding. I just want to make that, kind of point that piece out.
And probably all but about 10 school districts at most in the state of South Dakota with every audit get that same.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was the highlights. If you want more? No.
Start others.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I thought of, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because I had a long flight and read this.
okay, yeah.
I noticed our revenues were down, if I was reading right,
Okay.
18 to 19, like $1 million. But maybe, and
We would spend down $1 million in our, so when you're going, are you going like total government funds?
yes,
What page are you on, Wayne?
well, I gotta find out here.
Probably 18.
And the large reason for that would be the pension, we no longer have that tax. So part
That's
of it
what I
would have been in
wondered
one year,
if that
part of it
was-
in another. So as an overall, government entity, we would be down, because there's no longer a tax on that portion. That would have been the largest change of it.
Okay. I can't, I had it at my
And then
office.
if we go from like this audit to this next audit, you won't see that change because it's gone. There is, depending on which report you're on, some of them book the South Dakota retirement asset decreased. And that's not any dollars that change to us, but if they're funded at 105%, they go to like 102%, that can be a $750,000 adjustment to our books, even though none of those dollars we see. And that's part of that liability portion that is part of the government accounting standing for it. That doesn't actually affect our cash rate, it's just how our liabilities book
Yeah.
in relation to others.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I knew there was a, yeah, I just was curious.
Any other questions? If not, then let's entertain a motion to accept the 2018-2019 audit report.
So moved.
Mrs. Schultz, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller. Further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the audit report signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Declare that we have accepted the audit report. We have an appointment to our surplus property appraiser, and this would be Mr. Brad Eichmann to replace Ricky Hansen. Anything we need to add as a part of that?
he meets the qualifications to become an appraiser. And we'll have some items this spring that we'll need to look at, so that's how we did the formal motion in place.
So recommendation would be to appoint Brad and remove Ricky from that. I take a motion to that effect. So, Mr. Nelson, is there a second?
No, sir.
Mr. Hanamichael, questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving Mr. Eichmann as our appraiser, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We have it. Policy review time. Oh, if you want to get on a committee, I'm sure that we could make some swaps on this. Lori and Steve, any,
Yeah, you just got it.
I got that one pinned up on my bulletin board.
Joel, you want to take us through these, or?
Yeah, on the review on 19, and they were posted on the website. Those are the ones that the committee, we went through, didn't see any changes needed. All of the codified laws matched up for the references. So those are all ones from the committee standpoint. We felt that those will stay as they are. We'll put a new review date that they've been reviewed and updated then for this board meeting. I don't know if there's any questions on any of those in particular. And some of those actually, a couple of those I believe are ones that we actually updated in the last year and a half, even,
Yep.
3 or 4 of those.
Any questions on those? Then let's talk about our policies under item number 20 then. These will be first readings of these. We'll come back and visit them next month.
Correct. The first one, GBEAA, Staff Health and Safety, Communicable Diseases. We had our school nurse, Mrs. Guzzi went through this as well, take a look at what we had in place. And then we looked at ASBSD's policy, and theirs was a newer one, and the different disease and incubation periods, everything was more updated. And looking at it, rather than trying to piecemeal different changes, it was, we felt the best move forward was to adopt a whole new version of it, which would be the ASBSD's version of the communicable diseases. So again, we turn to our school nurse with the background that she has, and was very much in favor of moving to the Associated School Boards policy.
Questions?
A lot of it's the same, some of it's just a little bit different, but it more identifies all the different situations.
Appears a little more readable too.
Very much so.
More better grouping with it.
If there is, just let me know, and we can also take another look at it coming into the next month's board meeting as well. GBE, Staff Health and Safety. Basically on that, the policy itself we stayed with, but we added a portion on workman's compensation. We noticed ASBSD and some others had that in. We didn't have that in ours, so we added workers' compensation. In case of injury while pursuing duties in keeping with the employee's contract, the employee will receive compensation expenses as prescribed by the workers' compensation law of South Dakota. Any employee who receives an injury while at work should immediately report this injury to the supervisor's office and request the necessary forms to make application. And then the legal reference for that is South Dakota Codified Law 134360. So all that was done on that whole policy was add the workman's comp area to it. Any questions on that one? The next one, GBG, staff participation in political activity. Again, the policy was fine. We did correct just some language in it. Before it just said which he intends to seek, we changed it to he, she in those cases. So all that was is simple language. Where it said he, it was changed to he, she to cover both genders. And then the fourth one, GCPD, suspension and dismissal of professional staff members. And looking at ours, some of the legal references, the codified laws had changed. Before there were 7 now, number 8, we added number 8, which is simply neglect. And then down in the legal references, we added 13, 10, 15 from codified law, which references, and before it was 1343, it's 1343.61 through 1343.69 now, not 66. So we just updated the codified laws that pertain to suspension and dismissal of professional staff members. So this falls in line with codified law.
So 3 did not cover what you wanted with 8, if that's a different type of neglect?
Correct, yep. I think 8 became a more wide open coverage of some things. Yep. And again, that would just follow exactly what's in statute then.
Okay, any other questions on that? I did think of one other thing. We need to maybe take just a second and acknowledge what our One Act Play did on Saturday.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Superior, and every actor was given a superior also. And I don't know if that's ever happened for us, so
Awesome.
congratulations to that group of people. And I was visiting with a grandparent this morning, and she said she could not believe the difference that the play was that they presented here to qualify for the state and what they did in Aberdeen, or not Aberdeen, Sioux Falls, by the way, the different things the judges had commented here and how they implemented it in Sioux Falls. So
Yep.
kudos to that group for what they have done.
Awesome job. And to the instructors.
Yes. With that, then we're ready to go into executive session. Sue, do you have any questions?
Just gonna clarify some of the
Okay.
personnel.
Yep.